Welcome to Mind Your Freedom. I'm your host, Adele Anderson, successful businesswoman, now NLP trainer and life freedoms coach. Each week, we're going to explore the power of and give insight into how to achieve your greatest personal freedoms. You're someone who's seeking more, knowing that there is more to life's journey. I find you open, curious, and always looking to expand your awareness. And you're ready to surrender the pain and grow into the person that you know that you are. And it can be gritty because real life is just like that. We either have an opportunity to grow when it falls apart. Even at the times when it threatens our very existence, makes us question life, even who we are. If you need that one-on-one support, go to lifecoachadele.com. Check in with me there, or simply stay tuned. Each weekly episode offers those real life stories, filled with the pain, the vulnerable truths, the laughs, aha moments, and the takeaway gems. Get ready to access freedom experts from all over the world. So thank you for joining me today. Now let's get started. Good morning, freedom seekers. It's Adele Anderson from Life Coach Adele, and this is Mind Your Freedom. And today I'm interviewing Kevin. How do I say your last name?
Burciaga.
Okay. Good morning, freedom seekers. Adele Anderson from Life Coach Adele, and this is Mind Your Freedom. And today I am so happy to be interviewing Kevin Busseri. I'm going to have you say your own name, Kevin.
That's okay.
It's a long and beautiful name. He is the creator of the Empowered Eating System. And Kevin has dealt with multiple eating disorders in his life during his 20s. And we're going to talk about that because now he's on the other side of that and he's actually helping other people overcome the same things. So he has a method that he calls the Empowered Eating System. And he works with students, professionals, athletes, and then he mentions men in particular to help them eat right anytime, anywhere. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
So please clarify how you say your last name.
Burciaga. A lot of people ask me, "Are you Italian?" I say, "No, I'm Basque." So it's a Basque name. I've never been to Spain. I don't speak Basque. Somehow I got the name, and yeah, that's it. But no, I am not Italian.
It's a great name. I love it. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a physical therapist. I work in Central California, Modesto, to be exact. And so I see patients with all sorts of ailments, whether it's kidney disease, heart failure, diabetes, new joints, whatever. And then I help my own clients who have eating disorders.
Great. Are you finding that you are gaining some clients through the physical therapy side of your professional life?
Well, not really, because I can't promote myself on their clock.
Okay.
So that's just part of the agreement. So that would be a great source of referrals potentially, but I signed a contract.
But maybe it's a potential joint venture for something later in your life. But tell me, what was happening in your life when you were in your 20s and you were suffering from eating disorders?
What's interesting is that when it all started, nothing was happening in my life. I didn't need to change anything. So I still wonder why I decided to change it. Well, I have my theories why. But I was just going to school, college, taking my 5 or 6 courses each semester, working part-time. It was a pretty typical life for a 20-year-old male living in the suburbs, living with mom. So there was no real impetus other than my own interest in health and nutrition and fitness. But that interest turned into an obsession rather quickly. And
when you say obsession, is that the part of the eating where the eating disorder turned up?
Yeah, that's where it started. It didn't start as a full-blown eating disorder. It started with the obsession, and I have perfectionist tendencies, and I was socially isolated and didn't have any goals, and didn't know where I was going. So you combine all those factors and you get this kind of behavior. But it took a couple of years to develop anything close to a eating disorder. It started with the regimented diet and the restriction and the weight loss and the obsession, and then that turned into an eating disorder.
When you talk about obsession, are you meaning obsession with food?
Yeah, and with nutrition and macros and weight and fitness, it became an unhealthy obsession when I had other things in my life that needed attention.
So would you ignore other things in your life and be obsessed with this aspect of what was maybe off balance health regiment?
Yeah, I did okay in school, at least enough to pass. But I had no social life. Did okay at my job. Wasn't thinking too much about the future. Wasn't thinking too much about who I wanted to be, and I didn't have any goals, any vision. I look back now and think, where did I think I was going to be in 5 years? But I spent too much time thinking about my own health and my own fitness goals and the nutrition, and I neglected everything else.
So even though there was this normal 20-year-old, there were these aspects of not having any goals, not feeling maybe the passion of finding yourself yet. So I love that deeper insight into what was happening in your life at the time that could have contributed to sort of a deep focus towards, food obsession or being
Right.
fit in a different way. So
Right.
that's really interesting. And on your media kit, you talk about eating disorders. They include more than what we might consider. So can you go through the different types of eating disorders that you are seeing showing up in people?
Yeah, so if you want to go by the DSM, which is that big diagnostic manual that the American Psychological Association publishes every, I don't know, 10 years, you have anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and then they added binge eating disorder to the latest edition. So those are the three that are clinically classified as eating disorders. Then they have other specified feeding and eating disorders, and they have unspecified. I mean, it gets really convoluted, I think, but you have behaviors like chewing and spitting. It's not technically classified as an eating. You have behaviors like chewing and spitting. It's not technically classified as an eating disorder, but I would consider that an eating disorder.
And why? Why would you consider that? Because that's the one that caught my eye.
It is, well, first of all, it's really unhealthy mentally and physically, and it's definitely an abnormal behavior. I don't think you're not designed to chew food and spit it out. You're designed to chew food and swallow it.
Okay. So I was thinking regurgitation, chew food, spit it out, but you're actually talking about people that just chew their food and then they spit it out.
Correct. So regurgitation is, yeah, that's another classification that's in the DSM, but I don't see chewing and spitting. I don't see anything like orthorexia. I've never seen a clinical diagnostic for that, but
Can you define that?
Orthorexia, if you want to keep it simple, it is a unhealthy fixation obsession about what you eat and how much you eat. That's a crude definition, but we'll keep it simple.
Okay, cool. You obviously know a lot about this. You've become an expert over time. So that's really cool. So what was the turning point in your life where you realized, oh my gosh, I have a problem?
I think it started I think the first time I realized that this was not healthy is when I started getting stress fractures and I was anemic and my blood tests weren't good and I had no testosterone. Then I was on testosterone replacement therapy, TRT. So that was the first clue. It wasn't enough to modify it. I just thought, well, I'll just take this supplement and, these things will be chewing and spitting. And then I started doing, the binge and purging. That's when I realized, okay, this is a serious problem. But even that wasn't enough to make me stop. But your question was, when did I realize I had a problem? That's probably when I realized that it was a problem.
So lots of medical stuff showed up. And yet even that wasn't enough to start that change. So when did the change start?
many years later. So
Oh,
we're talking throughout my 20s that
okay.
this started. I realized that it was something to stop, something to change. But I didn't take serious action until my late 20s. And the reason why is because there was always some reason or excuse not to take action. You
Of
know,
course.
it was, well, I'll stop when I go to grad school. And then once I got to grad school, it was, I'll stop when I get out of grad school, or it's maybe I'll move to another state, or when I have a different background, or when this changes, when that changes. There was always some excuse, some reason to delay that process.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. When you are talking with your clients and they're coming up with possibly health considerations, like some serious stuff, you've lost hormones, you're having issues, like major issues with your health. What are you going to say to them? You can say, well, it took me a long time to get there, but why are the reasons why we should engage now? Long-term health implications? What?
Yeah. Fortunately, the ones who decide to work with me realize that now is the time, and maybe investing the time and the money is enough. But I cannot inculcate urgency. Like, I can't make somebody have that sense of urgency. Like, I can't make somebody have that sense of urgency. Maybe that's a skill that I can learn, but I think that sense of urgency has to come within you. Like, you have to believe that now is the time to take action and to actually fix this. But we always hear that voice in our head that says later, later, later. And the reason why is because making that change is not always fun. It can be challenging, and it's a disruption. And so our brains like to do what it's always been doing, and it likes comfort, it likes security. And we don't like to make these changes and deny ourselves this pleasurable habit, because that's what the brain likes. It doesn't like to change. It just likes to keep doing what it's always been doing.
Yes, that amazing brain of ours has those little the little fear factor that keeps us from improving ourselves sooner. Just
Right.
any change brings up that mechanism. What I wanted to I guess say to people, the stats are like 3% are ready to figure it out. Then there's 67% that don't know they have a problem or haven't reached that point where it's like oh no, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. Like the spitting and chewing, I didn't quite understand it in the beginning, but now I do. But where could we kind of scare the bejesus out of people to say, what are the reasons why you should take care of this sooner than later? Like, what would be the health implications if we don't take care of it? Or what other ways does it show up in your life? Like, if you're obsessed here, does it interfere with your work? Does it interfere with
Yeah.
relationships? More reasons to check in and, get better now than, a decade.
Yeah, and those are the questions I usually ask. Costing you social time? Is it costing you your health? Is it costing you your dreams? What is it costing now? Because it's easier to create that urgency if you can expose the cost today rather than the cost in the future. Because the cost in the future, that's an abstract or an abstraction. It's like, yeah, this could potentially happen. Okay, well, what's it costing you now? What did it cost you today? Did it cost you money? Did it cost you time? Did it cost you mental energy? Did you skip a social event? Or, did you not take that vacation? What is it costing you now? So I try to expose the present cost more
Right.
than the future cost.
Yeah. But that is the future, right? Like the relationship that you build that becomes something more, the love of your life, or, the next business venture, all of these things that we
Yeah.
limit ourselves without really recognizing that next opportunity or that thing that brings us joy maybe just got missed. It's fascinating because I wasn't really thinking of the complexities that you've already exposed about the disorder. So tell me how you began your journey to wellness.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that today at one point was the future. So the present cost was what was once a future cost, and now you're paying for it. So your question was, how did I begin this process? How did I begin the process of recovery?
Yeah, like day one, what was the change?
Yeah, I don't think there was a day one. It's not like, so the thing about recovering is that it's not like, so the thing about recovering is that it doesn't start on a particular day and end on a particular day. I think a lot of my clients, they come into my program thinking that like, okay, today's day one. Well, the problem with thinking about day one is that it leads to perfectionism. It's like the first time you have an episode or you relapse, it's like, okay, now I'm back to day one. Well, not necessarily. You could relapse, but you're still better than you were at day one, correct? So I try to teach them not to have this black and white mentality. Don't think I'm recovered or I'm not. But I think the initial change for me was realizing all of the time that I had wasted. And I'd basically wasted an entire decade. This is a problem that I could have fixed in a matter of weeks. And now I've wasted my entire 20s. Well, there were some good times in my 20s, of course, but this didn't need to happen. I didn't need to deal with this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I realized, well, things are not going to get better. My living situation isn't going to get better. I have all the tools I need. I have all the knowledge I need. If not today, then when?
Yeah.
So it
not
was
in your
just
30s, not in your 40s, then you lose more decades, right? It's a scary thing because it happens. People live with addictive behavior or disruptive behavior for a lifetime. You see them in the rabbit hole, and you hope that something will change, but until they're ready to change, where can we offer that? So, so tell people, here you are in your 20s. So how is life different now?
life is different in the sense that I have new problems. So I solved one problem and I filled it with other problems. But I like to say you want new problems. New problems are good most of the time. You want to upgrade your problems. So if it's not binging or purging or eating disorder, you have another problem. Now your problem is, how do I get more clients? How do I build my business? Okay. Well, that's not a problem I had 5 years ago. It's not like my life is sunshine and rainbows. I still have my own insecurities. I have problems. There are threats. The whole world is under threat right now. So that hasn't changed. And I thought that once I overcame my eating disorders, I thought I was just going to live this perfect life and it was going to be milk and honey. It's not like that. Doesn't mean it wasn't worth changing. It just means we're always going to have different problems, different threats.
Sure. That's a human experience, right?
Right.
That and as an entrepreneur, you are a problem solver. So this is the next course that comes up, is the problems that show up now, and then how do we solve them? So fabulous explanation on that, because you're right. People have this maybe idealistic thinking that all my problems are going to be over if I solve the underlying condition. But life is a little bit more of a roller coaster in some cases. Of course, we want to flatten that line out slightly. Yeah. Flatten the curve is very popular these days. But what other insights or advice can you give someone who, just had an epiphany and realized that maybe they do need some help?
If you're hesitating, then make one small change and start there. Because maybe you're hesitating because you think that the change is going to be really hard and you're going to have to sacrifice too much too soon. And you're going to have to deny yourself, and you're going to have to become this new person in one day. Well, don't think like that. Remember, recovery isn't one day. Okay? You don't have to change everything in one day. But if you can change one small thing today, But if you can change one small thing today, do it. And then the next day, change another small thing. Quit thinking like today I'm going to behave one way, and then tomorrow I'm going to behave in a completely different way. And I'm going to live like that the rest of my life. It's this, again, this black and white thinking. Like one day I'm a disordered eater, the next day I'm not, forever. So quit thinking like that and just start making small changes and accept that the process is going to take a few weeks, maybe even a few months.
But it doesn't sound like it's, so far away that they can't see those incremental gains each day. And what I'm getting out of it is you're the gentle mentor that is encouraging them to take these baby steps and to reduce maybe some of the discomfort and pain. And I liked that there was no mistakes to if you do fall off one day, it's like, okay, we just keep going. It's a process and we'll get there. I think it gives people hope.
Yeah, and it reduces the resistance, because if you have to change everything in one day, you're probably going to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, next week, next month, because it's too much. Whereas if I just say, well, just instead of having a bag of chips, have an apple for your snack, for example. Can you do that and then keep everything else the same? Okay, I can probably do that. Okay, great. Let's start there.
Cool.
And then the next day, do it again, then do it again, do it again. If you did that every day for 90 days, you'd see quite a change.
So is your program 90 days, Kevin?
Yeah, I expanded it to a solid 3 months. And
can you tell me the reasons behind that?
I used to offer 8 weeks. I don't feel like that's enough time for people. And so I offered the 3 months. That's enough time to make the mistakes and to correct them.
You're there to catch them when they fall.
Exactly. And there's going to be a relapse at some point. There's going to be good days. There's going to be some bad days. And yeah, like you said, I want to be there and catch them while they're still in the program.
Yeah. It's almost, again, that realization before you start, there's probably going to be somewhere along the line where it drops, and not to be so surprised or so discouraged by that you'll be there, get you back on track, and keep moving forward till this is done.
Exactly. Expect challenges, expect setbacks.
So that's really cool.
Exactly.
Well, I found it fascinating. I know that there's so much more for me to learn, but we keep to our like 30 minutes. So Kevin, if someone has just realized that they should have a conversation, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to www.kevinburciaga.com/empowered eating. And they can also find me on YouTube, and my channel is Kevin Burciaga.
Do you want to spell it?
Sure. B as in Brian, Urciaga.
Perfect. And it will be in the resources at the end of the podcast. So people can actually just click into the show notes and they can find Kevin's information there with links to how to get a hold of him. Is there any other words of wisdom that you'd like to finish off with today, Kevin?
Take today seriously.
And then I have one last question. If I was to say to you 3 little words, mind your freedom, what does that mean to you?
It means freedom comes with rights and responsibilities. So if you have freedom, be thankful for it, but don't abuse it.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for listening, Freedom Seekers. This is Adele Anderson from Life Coach Adele, and you just watched or listened to Mind Your Freedom. And until we speak in person, have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. Now, if you're ready to move beyond where you are today, you're seeking deeper clarity, understanding, or need help moving past the pain, imagine, just for a moment, feeling that freedom, and it is possible. Connect with me, lifecoachadele.com. I would love to support you. You can do that today, or join our Freedom Facebook, and then Remember to head over to iTunes and subscribe. A grateful thank you if you could take the time to do a review so we can grow our higher learning community together. Stay well. Bye now.